A very warm welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program with me, Tamchizam. Our top stories this week. Her Majesty Gyalum Dojong Wangchuk honored with the Pope Francis Charity and Leadership Award in the US. Children's exposure to digital pornography, a rising issue. And National School Curriculum Review at its final phase. Now in detail. Caritas in Veritate International honored Her Majesty Gyalum Dojong Wangchuk the Pope Francis Charity and Leadership Award at a ceremony in New York City. Bhutan's permanent representative to the United Nations received the award on Her Majesty's behalf. The award was in recognition of the work done by the Tariana Foundation under Her Majesty's leadership in uplifting the lives of the remote communities in Bhutan. Caritas in Veritate International is an alliance of the organizations dedicated to equipping and mobilizing youth in bringing charity and truth to the poorest of the poor. More than 20% of children aged 13 to 17 are exposed to pornography. This is as per the National Commission for Women and Children's report on violence against children. More than 3,000 children across Bhutan were interviewed during the survey last year. The research indicates that exposure to digital pornography is becoming an emerging issue in the country.
With increased ownership of smartphones and computers and easy access to internet, children now have access to all sorts of information. The survey found that more boys have seen pornographic films or videos than girls.
When we look into the location of children exposed to digital pornography, it was found out that most of the time the children have access to the digital pornography at home. This could be mainly because of access to the internet facilities at home. Parents has a duty to see their children what kind of sites they are exposed to. That could be a crucial factor that could lead to combat the issue of digital pornography.
The findings raised the need for adults to engage children in proper sex education. It is also essential to understand teenage online practices as they are becoming more dependent on the internet.
When the children are exposed to digital pornography, the biggest implication would be, that the children are exposed to the predators. And also, the children become more vulnerable because looking into the pornography, they might tend to accept some kind of sexual touching, and also they might accept the sexual verbal harassment, use of sexual languages.
Besides physical, sexual and emotional violence, digital pornography is one of the prevalent violence against children in Bhutan. Developing a strategy to understand the impacts and risk associated with exposure to pornography were recommended to tackle the issue. Gilyangden for BBS News.
Peers were the highest perpetrators of violence against children in the country as per the National Commission for Women and Children's recent research. More than 3,000 children were interviewed during the survey. The research also revealed parents, family members and adults as such perpetrators.
Peers such as siblings, relatives, friends and classmates are inflicting all types of violence against other children both at school and at home. Children experience physical violence by their peers, mostly boys of the same age or older, in the form of fighting, punching or kicking.
The NCWC research report reveals that violence is being experienced at school level, which is quite alarming and also very disheartening and also very disturbing. Although we have been carrying out a lot of intervention and initiative at the school level, still the study finding tells that the violence is taking place.
Peers are also the highest perpetrators of sexual violence through unwanted sexual touching or verbal sexual harassment. More girls reported experiencing verbal sexual harassment than boys. Many children also experience emotional violence by their peers in the form of ragging, teasing their physical appearance, or for not having parents or their economic status.
Looking at the nature of the violence, what I feel is that the Ministry of Education, we should review our discipline policy. And then also maybe we need to strengthen the positive disciplining technique that is happening in the school. At the same time, we also need to strengthen the activities program that is being carried out specifically under the psychosocial ambience, psychosocial domains. So we really need to discuss this and review the policy once again.
During the national consultation of the research on violence against children in Bhutan, the National Commission for Women and Children said, generally, much of the violence appears as normal patterns of children's relationships, but experts say it often leaves the child physically hurt and emotionally traumatized. The Commission explained, normalizing violence through tolerated social norms will only lead to more violence. Hence, having a system in place that picks up the first signs of violence is important to prevent problems. The NCCC at the consultative meeting put forward a recommendation to develop a national strategy to counter peer violence in all settings. More than 80 officials with civil society organizations, Education Ministry, Royal Bhutan Police, UNICEF and policy makers, among others, participated in the national consultation of the research. Gil Youngden for BBS News.
The final phase of the school curriculum review, now taking place at the national level, is underway in Paro. Reviews at the school and Zonghok levels were completed last month. Officials say this is the first ever national review of school curriculum involving almost everyone from the schools to the students and their parents. The week-long pre-conference, which began on Friday, will analyze and validate the issues and feedback submitted by the Zonghoks. Over 80 subject experts from various schools in the country and from the Education Ministry have been called in for the purpose.
In Education Ministry, to improve the quality of our education, we are working on 3 areas of development, namely teachers, schools and the curriculum. This is one of the areas.
At the end of the pre-conference, a strategic plan will be drafted underlining the changes to be made in the current curriculum stage-wise.
Short term se, medium term, long term se sumila. Short term se kapsulu lo chigi na kuna lo bitsubigi.
There are 3 stages: short term, medium term and the long term. The short term will be for changes which can be made within a year. The medium term will be for those which can be implemented between 1 to 2 years. And if the changes to be made are quite big, it will be included in the long term.
Another 3-day conference will be held at the end of this month to confirm the draft resolutions from the pre-conference. Changes in the school curriculum for the short term are expected to take place by next year. For Yishigalson in Paro, Tamchuzam, BBS News. 1 month since its opening, close to 3,000 people came to witness and get blessings from the historical artifacts of Shabdungaung Namgyal displayed at the Royal Textile Academy. The exhibition, titled Shabdungaung Namgyal, the Founding Father, is to commemorate the 400 years since Shabdung's arrival to Bhutan. The 6-month exhibition began on 21st of September.
Some 100 people visit the exhibition daily. The visitors were mostly tourists. According to Royal Textile Academy, the numbers are within the expected range, but they are expecting more locals.
Shabdung Rinpoche came to Bhutan in 1616 and blessed the land by leaving behind his artifacts like tankas and other monuments. When we come here, we get blessed just upon seeing the monuments, as these were blessed since time immemorial.
We are being hosted by Udruk, the tour company, and they brought us here to show us the textiles and the beautiful things of Bhutan. Well, I've always loved the tankas, so to see these very special and old tankas that are embroidered and that are so ancient is such a treat for me.
We get to see and hear on Shabdung's legacy and his artifacts on television. Apart from seeing on television, it's a true blessing to get this chance to witness the artifacts in person today and get blessed. I'm getting to see the artifacts of which I've only heard of from others.
The exhibition displays various artifacts belonging to Shabdungao Namgyal and two of his incarnations, Chole Shingyudup and Chole Jimmy Tenzin. The artifacts were borrowed from various institutions and organizations with support from Drasal Hunso and Department of Culture. For Pupkim, this is Sunampem for PBS News.
3 health professionals, including a doctor from Nganglam BHU in Pemagasil, will be transferred for professional misconduct in a snake bite case where the victim died. The Bhutan Medical and Health Council's investigation report reveals that there was a lack of competency in attending to the patient. As per the report, the doctor and 2 nurses had also tried to cover up the case by tampering with the hospital documents.
The victim died in Nganglam BHU in May this year after a snake bite. Investigation started after the deceased son filed a complaint alleging that the team was negligent and did not attend the patient when asked. Investigation found the doctor had failed to monitor and pick up signs of envenoming and had falsely claimed to have administered the antivenom injection.
Our staff says that they have attended, but the investigation team found that if they have attended, they should have documented. Since there was no documentation of taking the vital signs during that complaint, we find that this was a negligence on their part. Explanation that was given to us by a doctor for the inquiry committee was that he said he have given anti-snake venom, and the team found that the anti-snake venom was not given. So there was a lack of competency.
The report also says they will be reprimanded for tampering with the documents and misleading the investigation. It also recommends withholding certificate of good standing for the doctor and nurse in charge for 3 years.
In case of doctor, the Professional Ethics Committee recommended that he will not be given a certificate of good standing for 3 years, and he should be transferred to a hospital where there is a medical specialist or senior physician, and for 6 months he has to be under observation. And his registration has been changed from full registration to conditional registration. That means he will have to work under the supervision. And for these 2 nurses, Professional Ethics Committee recommended that they should be transferred to a busy hospital where they will be, made to work and ensure that they know how to document.
Meanwhile, 3 health professionals are yet to hear from the ministry. The committee also recommended that the Bhutan Medical and Health Council conduct competency exam for all categories of medical and health professionals applying for registration with the council and attach fresh medical graduates in referral hospitals for a minimum of 6 months before being posted in basic health units. It also recommends Health Ministry to recall medical graduates of University of Science and Technology, Chittagong in Bangladesh to keep under attachment to enhance competency, as the committee observed that in most of the negligence cases reported are of the doctors who graduated from USTC. Compiled for Chengadoji, Pupkim for BBS News.
For the first time ever, 3 Bhutanese men left for Canada on Friday to become the first helicopter pilots of the country. They will be trained to fly helicopters in the mountainous setting for search and rescue operations and emergency medical services.
The trio, Sanget Sogel, Ugendoji and Namgerinchen, are all employees of Royal Bhutan Helicopter Services. They met with the Prime Minister on Wednesday.
주중일로 때디기베 zero 암지 사이사이베 땅도 시슈니라 zero 암지 땅미 딜루 땅아
The government is spending so much for our training. We would like to thank the government for that. We will train well and come back to serve the country.
카둘레 디 zero디 톨로마지 우치벨라 가데 다다 차슈니기 켈랑 숨지베 피도시 슈니라
Ugen Doji and Sange Tsogal studied electronics and communication engineering in College of Science and Technology in Phinsuling, while Namge Rinchen is a physical science graduate from Sherapchi College. For the last 1 year, they were attached with 3 veteran pilots from the UK, Australia and New Zealand who are currently working with the Royal Bhutan Helicopter Services. After the 6 months training in Canada, they will sit for a final test called Bhutan Air Law Exam to secure a Bhutanese commercial pilot license. Then, more training will follow under the supervision of a chief pilot. For now, they are to become the first Bhutanese chopper pilots and join the country in its endeavor to serve and sacrifice. With additional information from Ishigase in Paro, this is Kipchu for BBS News.
The Japanese government, as part of the KR2 grant, will provide more than 1.5 billion ngetum for procurement of power tillers. To this effect, an agreement was signed on Tuesday.
The grant aid agreement was signed between the Japan International Cooperation Agency in Bhutan and Gross National Happiness Commission. With the grant, the Agriculture and Forest Ministry will procure 353 power tillers by the end of next year. It will then be hired out to Bhutanese farmers. JICA's chief representative to Bhutan, Koji Yamada, said effective utilization of the power tillers will encourage the Japanese government to donate more. The request for power tillers was submitted in 2014.
Once we can see that we are able to, that you are able to utilize the existing power tillers, then that would be definitely a positive factor that the government of Japan may decide on the next step on the extra power tillers.
The government of Japan has been supporting Bhutan's efforts of farm mechanization since 1983. So far, they have provided about 3,200 power tillers through the KR2 grant. Kipchu, BBS News.
It might take another week or so to open the Tongsa-Shemgang highway to traffic. The road has been blocked for almost 4 months after a landslide hit the area and a bridge was washed away later at Zongkhalum.
The incessant rain recently has made it even worse. The bypass bridge that was constructed a month ago was washed away on 12th of this month. Although the road clearing works may take a few days, filling of the gorge for bypass bridge might take a little long. According to the roads department, they may require at least 500 truckloads of muck to fill the gorge. The bridge will, however, be constructed jointly by the Mandicho project, roads department and contractors widening the road. Meanwhile, a boulder perched on a hill above the Tongsa-Wandifara highway at Thumangdra has made it risky for travelers. Located about 12 kilometers from Tongsa, the boulder appeared after the recent rainfall. Motorists say it might roll down any time. Some said concerned authorities should do something before any mishap occurs.
Yalama do much ani epdomiki sagayula. Taniki chokti that nabanam semi jomnibella. The midisiki do bomb any bomb there how much anagi na lamase pa chupakaki ropa. Madishuki and Yangaoni Mesel, Machipa Yukaki did the Messangim this.
The roads officials are still discussing to get rid of the boulder. In the meantime, motorists have no option but to risk their lives while driving this stretch of the highway. Compiled for Surjaman Thapa in Tongsa, Sonapenjo, BBS News.
For the first time in the country, 2 snow leopards were radio-collared. It was entirely done by Bhutanese forest officials last month. Radio-collaring is a process where a small radio transmitter is attached to a wild animal which can be used in tracking the animal.
When this team explored the ridges of Lingji in May this year, their attempt of radio-collaring the elusive and endangered animal went in vain. However, another team took onto the mountains once again last month and set several snare traps in the area. This time, much to the relief of the team, 2 female leopards showed up.
This was never done in Bhutan before. We were a team of only 5 and we did it. I heard this being done in other countries, but only with foreign aid. Here we did it by ourselves. We are really proud.
The leopards were collared at 2 different locations of Shasila and Pavula in Lingji. The World Wildlife Fund Bhutan funded the expedition.
Through the GPS collar, we will know the movement pattern of the animal, its habitat, preference for different seasons and home range, which is the area over which they regularly travel in search of food. From the data we get, we can understand what sort of conservation efforts need to be made.
Recently, Bhutan also completed its first national survey of snow leopards. The findings will be revealed on Sunday, coinciding with the International Snow Leopard Day, which is being observed for the first time. Snow leopards are regarded as indicator species of the health of mountain ecosystems. According to the World Wildlife Fund Bhutan, presence of the cat across the country is a sign that much of Bhutan's high mountain ecosystems are healthy. Globally, scientists estimate there may be as few as 4,000 snow leopards left and are found in only 12 countries, mostly in Central Asia. In the meantime, following the successful expedition, hopes of collaring more snow leopards have only increased as the team, once again, prepares to trek the mountains in search of the big elusive cat. Kipchu, BVS News.
Prime Minister Sring Tobgay has sought an opinion of a legal team to establish whether the law permits the executive body to direct an investigation regarding the letter addressed to him by a freelance journalist, Namgizam. The journalist in her letter is seeking investigation into the actions of the Supreme Court's Chief Justice. The letter accused the Chief Justice of prejudging. It stated the Chief Justice expressed his legal opinion on an ongoing defamation case involving the journalist. As per the letter, the Chief Justice did so in a gathering of judges where the presiding judge of the defamation case was also present. The letter also mentioned 3 other incidents accusing the Chief Justice of violating his constitutional duty and lacking judicial integrity. The Prime Minister said the laws provide clear separation of powers between the executive, legislative and the judiciary, and checks and balances are in place. He said it is up to the judiciary on how the judiciary conducts its affairs. Prime Minister Sring Tobgay said although there is a provision to impeach heads of constitutional bodies in the Constitution, the letter does not seek such. The Prime Minister added the laws should be followed to look at available checks and balances to address a citizen's concern. Copies of the letter have also been sent to members of the Parliament, including the Speaker and Chairperson last week. Prime Minister Sring Tobgay said it is up to them to decide on the matter. Tamchuzam, BBS News. Royal Bhutan Army won this year's Open Interdepartmental Basketball Tournament in Thimphu. They defeated the police team. In women's category, the Bhutan Olympic Committee defeated Druk Air to claim the title. 20 men's team and 4 women's team took part in the tournament. Well, that's all we have for you this week. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.